Hi everyone, welcome to our channel. I'm so happy to have you guys here today. We're going to be making this really fun DIY. It's a Christmas countdown. It's so easy to make. Let's go over our supplies. We'll need 2 of these Dollar Tree wood boxes. We're also going to need one of their DIY stands. We're going to use the Santa, but they also have a Christmas tree and a snowman that you could use in this project. For this project, we'll need a small piece of wood. We're also going to need 1 pack of the foam dice, a golf ball or a ping pong ball. We'll need some of these little DIY angels, and the booties, we'll need 2 of those. Those are optional. Something to use as a beard. We'll need some felt. We're also going to use some Dollar Tree socks, some floral that matches our decoration. We'll need some ribbon and some yarn. We'll be using these numbers. They're in the poster numbers over by the office supplies at Dollar Tree. We'll need some paint, some paint brushes. We're also going to need scissors and some hot glue. So let's get crafty. The very first thing we're going to do is paint our dice. Now these come in like orange, red, blue, and green, and no matter how many times I try using chalk paint to cover it in just 1 coat, it just never does. So even with chalk paint, we'll need 2 coats. If you're using acrylic paint, you might need 3 because that color underneath just shows through really easily. You could use the balloon method where you just cover them with the balloon, but then you've got that little opening where the balloon end was cut off. So I chose to paint them. While those are drying, we're going to work on our boxes. So the first thing we're going to do is take that drawer out, and we're going to work on the larger box first. Now I am going to paint the inside of the box here to match the hat that I'm going to use, which is just a Dollar Tree sock. And the sock we're going to use for the hat is going to be blue, gray, and white striped. And so we're going to paint the inside of this box as close to the same color blue that is on the stripe of the hat as I could get. So we're just going to paint, make sure you get the creases really well, and then just paint the whole inside of the box. Now you could just do the whole box the same color inside and out. It's really up to you. I just wanted something to kind of pop a little bit out and not just be all like plain kind of tones with the gray, white, and black. So that's why I chose to use the blue on the inside of the box. Now the rest of the box I just painted gray, and I painted the smaller boxes gray as well all the way around. I did not paint the inside of the boxes on the smaller ones. So now we'll let those dry. While they're drying, we're going to paint the base and the bottom portion of the Santa all the same color as the beard that I'm going to use. I'm going to be using a white beard. If you're using the Dollar Tree fur off of one of their Santa hats, you could use some brown paint, which would help it to blend in with the beard. But since we're using a white beard here, we're going to paint the whole bottom, the sides, and the back with the white paint. Now we don't have to do the top portion here because you're not going to see it. It's going to be completely covered. So why waste the paint? So as you can see, I've already cut down the beard to size. Now I made it pretty long. I wanted it to go up pretty high on the stand. I don't want it to be, too far down, mainly because I didn't want to worry about how far that hat had to come down to cover it. So as you can see, I glue it up pretty high, and then I've rounded it off at the bottom just to already, kind of have it in a nice shape. And I didn't want that to be too long either. And I didn't want to have to try to cut it down to size once it was all glued together. So just round out the bottom. You can hold it over the top and kind of figure out your sizing. So then what you want to do is just take your fuzzy sock from Dollar Tree. They're nice and stretchy, and you can pull that down over the top portion here to create your hat, and then just keep adjusting it into place. We are going to make a brim to the hat here in just a second, and then you'll see me glue parts of this hat down. Don't do this part yet. You're going to want to probably stuff your hat just to give it some more shape. I wasn't really thinking. At first it was standing up, but once I put a pom-pom on the top of it, it was too heavy. So don't glue it down just yet. So now we're going to paint that golf ball with the skin tone. And I chose to do the whole golf ball mainly because I'm going to make 2 of these, and I wanted to have both of the noses already done. But you really are only going to need half of this golf ball, so you'd only have to paint half of it. Well, we're going to let that dry for just a few seconds. Once it's dry, we're just going to take that razor blade and just cut it right on the seam to cut it in half. This bottom portion, I had trouble getting the razor blade through that very last little piece that was holding it together. So I ended up using just a pair of scissors to pull it apart. And we'll set half of it aside because we're going to use that later. And then for the nose, you're just going to add some hot glue right to that edge. And then you'll want to tuck about a third of it up underneath of the hat. And make sure you hold it down while it dries for a few seconds just to make sure it stays where you want it to be. And go ahead and put a little bit of glue on the nose and then hold the hat down on top of it just to make sure it stays where you want it. You can add some more hot glue around the edges here. So as long as the back or the sides are open, you'll be able to still stuff the hat if you forget and haven't done it yet. So as you can see here, we're taking another sock. It's just a solid gray sock because it coordinates with the other sock that I used. And this will be the brim of our hat. So all we're going to do is cut about 6 inches off. We're going to fold it under on both sides to create this little loop here and then just flip it inside out. And you've got this nice loop that's nice and stretchy that you can pull over our Santa, which is now a gnome, and create the brim of the hat or the cuff to the hat. Now I know this right side here where the initial stand has the cutout for the ball of the hat looks a little funny, looks a little bumpy, but we're going to disguise that. You're not going to see it once we're all done here. So I know it looks a little funny right now, but it'll look better in a few minutes. You just want to adjust this cuff to the hat. Just keep pulling it down over the sock that's underneath of it. Once you kind of get it positioned in place, you'll want to put a little bit of hot glue right on the edge and glue the two socks together so that it will stay in place. If you just hold it down just for a second, once it kind of starts to dry, it really sticks really nicely together, and then it just looks like it was all sewn together without any of that little bit of blue sticking out underneath. We'll just keep working in the same manner all the way around the hat until we have the whole thing fixed with none of the sock from underneath sticking out anywhere. And then once we have the whole entire bottom in place, you will want to do a little bit of hot glue under the top portion as well. You don't need a whole lot, just a little bit in a few spots to make sure it stays. Now I made this little pom-pom here with one of the Dollar Tree pom-pom makers. I just poked a hole in the top portion of the sock, and then I tie the pom-pom to the top of it. This is where I discovered that it wasn't going to stay up like I wanted it to. The pom-pom added way too much weight to it, and I wanted it a little bit higher than it was. So once I get the pom-pom tied into place, I decided to go ahead and stuff the top portion of the sock to give it more stability so it would stay up a little bit higher. Now if you just want to leave it like this, you can. It will flop over. It still looks cute like this, but it really wasn't what I was picturing when I had this project in mind. So as you can see, it kind of was like falling down. So what I did is I took a sock. It was just one of the socks that I cut up, and I shoved it up into the top portion of the sock that was being used as a hat. And since it's kind of narrow for the foot portion of the sock, it does stay really well. You don't really need any glue or anything. And then just kind of position it until it looks the way you want it to look. Once I had it the way I wanted it, I took some hot glue and glued the pom-pom into place just so the whole thing would stay exactly the way I wanted it to be. So we have almost the whole top portion done, but we still need to hide that little bump on the side. So I found these really pretty blue like leafy pieces at Dollar Tree. They're covered in glitter. They're so pretty. And I cut a few pieces off and used that to cover up the bump, and then just used these little berries from a Dollar Tree pick to add some more detail to the hat. I just love how this matches all together. It just looks so pretty. So the top portion is done. So now we're going to take those inserts to the drawers. We're going to glue them with the cutouts facing each other. That way we won't see this from any sides of the project when it's finished. We'll clamp them together while they dry. I'm just using hot glue. And then we'll do the same thing to the larger boxes. We'll glue them together and then clamp them for a few minutes just to make sure that they glue nice and tightly together. So to make sure you line them up really well before you stick them together. So now we're going to work on the sign. So I had this little stand left over from the nativity project that I did, but again, you could use popsicle sticks or some other piece of scrapbook that wood that you might have around, or they sell those wood planks at Dollar Tree that you could use. And I'm just going to draw a pretty vague, very basic glove holding each side of the sign. And since this piece of wood is a little bit smaller, I made sure I drew the rest of the glove on the box underneath. So it looks like his hands are being wrapped around the box to hold onto the sign. Then I just drew a frame around the sign, and then I painted the middle part just plain white. I only did one coat of paint there. Then I used the same blue that I did for the inside of the boxes. I used those for the mittens. Now I need to do the rest of the mitten that was on the box that's underneath. You'll want to paint it just a little bit bigger so when you glue the sign on top, you don't have to worry about matching it up too much. You'll want it a little bit bigger than what it needs to be. And then I did this little black frame just around the outside portion of the sign. And I added a little white diagonal line in each corner to kind of make it look like it was wrapped with like a picture frame. So I just did a very basic black edge all the way around. And then I painted the edges of the sign black as well, except for where the gloves are. I painted the side blue. That's just to help give the illusion that the glove wraps all the way around. And then once it's dry, we're just going to glue this into place on top of the little blue pieces that we made to look like the rest of the glove. And then I used a small brush to add some detail. I outlined the gloves in black to help them to stand out. And then I added some white and gray stripes to the gloves to make them look like they were the same as the hat with the stripes, and added some cuffs as well to the gloves. And then added some words. You can add those with stickers. You could draw them on. You could paint them on. It's really up to you. So here's the top portion of the box is all complete. And now we're going to make the boots. Now this part is optional, so you'll just want to cut out about a 2x6 inch square or rectangle for your boots here. You just put some glue on the front of the boot and then line that felt right up to that bottom edge right in the front. And then you'll start working on gluing the side down. Just make sure you line the felt up right on the bottom edge of the boot. So you'll glue the first side down, flip it over. You'll glue this side down the same way you just did the other side. Once you have it wrapped all the way around, you're going to see how much excess you have on the back. Go ahead and cut off any excess with just a little bit left over to make sure you can create a whole entire loop all the way around. Just add some more hot glue to the back of the shoe and finish wrapping your felt all the way around and close up the back seam. We're basically just making a loop all the way around the shoe. Now you'll want to add some glue to the top of the shoe And then use your finger to push down the very front center, and then pinch the sides in, add a little bit more hot glue, and then pinch them together to create the front of the boot. Now, if you were making boots, you could leave these nice and tall. I'm going to glue these underneath of the stand, so I just want them to look like shoes. So I just take the remaining felt and tuck it down inside of the shoe. Now we're going to add some more hot glue to the base and just glue that onto a piece of felt, and then we'll trim around it with scissors. Now, we don't need any weight to these. These aren't actually helping it to stand. It's just for decoration purposes, so we won't fill them with anything to make them heavy. So again, just trim the felt all the way around to have a nice clean edge on the bottom. And those are our shoes. Then I made these tiny little gray bows with some gray buffalo plaid ribbon, and then I just glue those to the very front of the shoes, just for some added detail. So I do a bow for each boot, and those are done. Then we're going to take our dice that are dry now and put our stickers on. So I will leave in the description box numbers that you need. So you basically need 2 zeros, 2 number 1s, 2 number 2s, and then you'll need a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And make sure you use a number that the 6 looks kind of like a 9, so you could flip it over and use it as either or. That way you'll be able to do all of the days of the month. And that should give you enough numbers for the last month's countdown. So now we have our dice all done and our boxes glued together. Now we're going to just add some hot glue to the boxes and start stacking them. And then the gnome will add to the very top. I was gluing mine, trying to look in the camera view, so I got it a little bit off center, but it's close enough. So now we're taking those angels. We're going to use them as feet. So we're going to take 4 of them and pull the wings off. They're just paper. And then we're going to glue 2 to the front, kind of a little bit close, and maybe like right in the center of the box, so that those can be used to add the shoes. And then in the back, we'll add them to the back corner just to help with stability. And then we'll paint them black so that when we put them in the shoes, you won't be able to see them. Now, the very front, you don't have to paint the bottom portion, but in the back, you'll want to paint the whole thing all the way around black, or whatever color you choose. Then just fill the shoes with some hot glue. And then line up the shoes, and then just go ahead and pop them down in and adjust them so they're facing the right way while the glue is drying. Then just add some embellishments. I chose these really pretty snowflakes that Dollar Tree has out. And we're just going to add 2 of them to the front of the box. You can add some greenery, some ribbon, some flowers. Dollar Tree has so many options. And this is the whole thing done. So here's the top portion, the middle, and then the bottom. I hope you guys enjoy this project. I had a lot of fun making it. There's so many color options you could use, and it's fun for the kids to count down to Christmas. So we do DIY videos every Thursday. I hope you guys will check out some of the ones we've already posted this year. We post those every single Thursday. And then every Friday I post what's new for the week at the Dollar Tree. And make sure you guys check those out. Those are every Friday. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And here are some of those other videos from our channel that you might also enjoy. Have a great night, everyone.